NFL Sunday on TSN 690. We're getting ready for San Diego, Cincy, followed by San Fran versus Green Bay. He's Eric Thomas. I am Matthew Ross. Stefano Michello helping us out. And Sean Coleman on the board. I didn't forget your name. It was just a dramatic pause, Sean. It is time to talk about the Green Bay-San Fran game, and let's hope that they end like this.
And Graham to try to send them to Seattle from 32. Right down Broad Street. And the crowd dead silent as the New Orleans Saints told all week, oh my God, it's going to be below freezing. Might snow. No chance. Come into Philadelphia and win the game 26-24.
He's got him. Smith has a man down the far sidelines. Dwayne Bowe. And he was out. And the Colts celebrating on the sideline as Dwayne Bowe made the catch.
It was
right on the edge.
One-on-one with no help. 1 foot.
Nope.
No way.
That close. So the Colts trailing by 28. That close for Kansas City.
Welcome back to NFL Sunday here on TSN 690. Those were the key ending plays in both of those games yesterday. Let's hope we have some finishes like that. Dwayne Bowe nearly making a great catch in field goal range for the Chiefs in the final minute. 1 foot out of bounds. That darn close. And then obviously the Shane Graham, the dismissed kicker, now back in the NFL with the Saints, kicking the game-winning field goal in Philadelphia. So some drama yesterday. Let's hope we see some today. And just to finish off the Cincinnati and San Diego game, the key injuries of note in this game, we have the latest here. Terrence Newman, the great cornerback, out once again today with a knee injury. So that's a tough one for them. He's been out for a few weeks now. But here's the good news for Cincinnati. Both of these guys did not play last week, and miraculously, they did come out with a victory. Tyler Eifert and Jermaine Grisham, their two tight ends, will both be back today. So that is great news for Cincinnati fans out there. On the other side of the slate today, San Diego, Eddie Royal, who's pretty much not been practicing the entire season because of a turf toe injury, he will play today. Sean Lismore, defensive end, his shoulder injury will not keep him out of it. He will play today. And Ryan Matthews, who pretty much didn't practice the entire week, the running back, he will play as well today. And now we get into San Francisco and Green Bay today. That's the second game of our doubleheader. Some injury updates there so far. Remember, we don't have the latest because it's not close to kickoff yet, but Eddie Lacy is expected to play, the rookie running back, continuing to battle through an ankle injury. Randall Cobb, the wide receivers, missed some time this year. He is well expected to play today. On the San Francisco side of things today, Carlos Rogers, hamstring injury has kept him out the last few weeks. He says he's ready to go, so we expect him to play today. And another defensive back for San Fran, very key for them, Eric Wright, will play today. He tweaked his hamstring this week in practice, but he did say he expects to play as well. So other than that, not a lot of big injuries today in that San Fran-Green Bay matchup, which will be played, as we mentioned earlier, in 8-degree Fahrenheit temperatures, 12-mile-per-hour winds.
You know what? Everybody calm down about the weather in Green Bay. Just looked it up, and you mentioned it. It calculates to about 25 or minus 25 degrees Celsius at kickoff, and it's actually going to get warmer because it's going to be cloudy at kickoff, and then the cloud cover is going to spread out a little bit. Some snow showers. Yeah, I'm your meteorologist today, just breaking it down. Eddie Lacy, I think, should have a big game, though, but it depends. You mentioned some of these injuries as well. I think the guys, it is still going to be cold. I think the guys that are dealing with muscle injuries, hamstring like Eric Wright, they're going to have a tougher time getting going and staying warm than a guy maybe dealing with a bone bruise or something like that. I'm not a doctor either, but what I'm saying is watch out for those.
Doctor, meteorologist,
yeah, exactly.
This guy's all over the place.
All over the board. All I'm saying is watch out for those injuries and watch out for the other ones over the course of the game, because we mentioned the comeback yesterday, and I know it was indoors, but Kansas City had a tough time battling all those injuries and coming back from it. So it could be a factor in today's game. You hope it isn't, but especially given the cold weather, it very well might be.
All right, San Fran Green Bay is a rematch of Week 1. That game was played at the old Stick, which will now be torn down in San Fran. But Colin Kaepernick and the 49ers came back in the fourth quarter to beat Green Bay in that matchup, 34-28. Kaepernick had his best game ever as a starter. And we thought maybe this would be a season he'd throw 5,000 yards and be prolific. Didn't work out for him, but he did have 412 yards against that Green Bay secondary. And Anquan Boldin, his first game as a Niner, 13 catches, over 200 yards in that matchup. On the other side of things, Eddie Lacy was his first ever NFL game. He only had 41 yards rushing, and he lost a fumble in that game. Green Bay teammates this week have said you're going to see a different Eddie Lacy, 49ers fans, than you saw in Week 1. As for some of the key players in that earlier matchup this year, Clay Matthews had a sack and 7 tackles. You won't see him today. He's out with a thumb injury for the Packers. Devastating loss for them. They're going to need a guy like A.J. Hawk to step up, who had 6 tackles, the linebacker, former first-round pick, to take some of that load today for the Pack. As for the 49ers, a key guy to keep in mind who's been big this year, but I guess been overshadowed by Anquan Boldin. How about Vernon Davis? Week 1, 2 touchdown catches, 98 yards. So with no Clay Matthews over the middle and maybe a tired Green Bay defense having to battle to get into the postseason, maybe Davis could have another big day.
Yeah, I would expect something like that, but once again, I think it all has to fall on Colin Kaepernick's shoulders. I'm looking at the rushing yards right now, and yeah, he has more this season than he did last year, 524 versus 415, but remember, he came in about week 10 last year.
Point,
so,
yeah.
I mean, this is definitely not the same Colin Kaepernick that we were used to seeing and that we saw lead them into the Super Bowl. And another thing to look at as well, if we're talking about yards for Colin Kaepernick, passing yards this season, nearly 3,200. But guess what? Aaron Rodgers has about 2,600 himself, and remember, Aaron Rodgers missed about half of the season, so the production hasn't been here this season for Colin Kaepernick. It will need to step up today, especially in this frigid temperature, if they have any shot of getting it done.
Frank Gore is another guy who was kind of under the radar in that Week 1 matchup. He did score the winning touchdown, but he only had 44 yards rushing in San Fran against Green Bay. Gore's had a pretty decent year. They've kind of really tried not to rely on him too much for this time of the year. This is the guy that they want to put their faith in. Everyone says it's a great defense the Frisco team has and a great running game. Well, now is the time for Frank Gore. If he wants to be that guy to be remembered as one of the greats, maybe better than a Roger Craig and some of the other guys that they've had in that backfield, the Ricky Waters, and they need a big day today from him on the road in a cold weather game. I know you don't like me talking about the weather. 9 touchdowns this year, 1,128 yards. Okay numbers, just over 4 yards a carry. We need to see a big day today from Gore if the Niners have a chance in Green Bay.
Yeah, I agree, and he's been their leading rusher for just about the whole season. Kendall Hunter with a lead game there. Colin Kaepernick in week 2. So it's basically been Gore and more of Gore, and he's helped them this season, but they haven't had to lean on him. They may today, and he has been banged up as well. That's one of the other things to look at. It's not like he's been coasting through this season injury-free. He has had to deal with his bumps and bruises, and one of the reasons that other guys have gotten the opportunity. But I would expect to see a big day from Frank Gore. I did not expect to see his career turn out this way, for him to be this type of a player, but you know that if they need something on 1st and goal, 2nd and goal, or need to pound it in between the tackles on 3rd and 2, they're going to hand it off to number 21.
All right, my X factor in this game, we talked about Woodhead for the Chargers. How about Michael Crabtree, a guy who did not play in Week 1 versus the Packers? He's played the last few games. He's getting into a rhythm once again. Maybe going to be that explosive guy as we get ready now for prime time, right? You got the playoffs happening here now, so that's a guy to keep in mind today. Well, we're getting ready, folks. San Diego, Cincy, followed by Green Bay, San Francisco. We'll be here for the halftime shows as well. Prediction time as we head to the jungle in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Eric, who do you like?
AJ Green getting introduced right now. We got the fireworks blaring in Cincinnati. But I'm calling a San Diego victory today, at least in this one. Yeah, I expect them to go on the road. Phillip Rivers finally picks up that decisive career-type win, and it may be enough to propel them. You give San Diego enough lives, and Kansas City, they showed them last week. I expect the Chargers to pick up a big upset today.
I want to have the guts to take the Chargers. I think it's going to be a field goal game, but in the end, I think Cincinnati's roster is just too talented. You got 2 running backs, so in case of injury, one guy can still carry the load for Cincy. I like the Bengals by a field goal late. Stefano, who do you like?
We've said how the Seahawks are invincible at home, but let's not forget the Bengals haven't lost a home game all year either. They have a better home record than Seattle right now, so I'm going to take the Bengals at home.
They're due.
All right, and Coleman, what do you like?
You don't want my prediction on this.
No, we do want to know, so we know who wins that.
That's right, the
I'll
other
stay
side.
away
That's
from
right.
the entire debacle.
All right, fair enough. That's going to do it for NFL Sunday, the pregame show here on TSN 690. On behalf of Eric Thomas, Sean Coleman, Stefano Micella, I am Matthew Ross. Enjoy the game right here on TSN 690. We'll be back for the halftime show.
But the fire is so